Going to cover adverbs of manner. First of all, adverbs are usually formed by adding ly to an adjective form of a word, like quick turns into quickly, careful, carefully, swift, swiftly, etc. IVE adjectives are usually made into adverbs by adding ly. AL adjectives, we add ly, same as what I said up here. And then we have this one exception. IC adjectives are generally formed into adverbs by adding ALLY. Right? So not all of these adjective forms will be directly related to an adverb, but if you have an adverb form, you'll frequently just add ly to the adjective form. Right? So what do adverbs of manner do? Well, they describe action verbs, and maybe in order to understand what an action verb is, it's important to understand what a stative verb is. Stative or non-action verbs are things like, love, realize, fit, suppose, contain, mean, understand. And some of these are a little bit of both action and inaction, or action and stative. Certainly like, love, know, these are things that we don't see an action with. There's an internal feeling, but it doesn't relate to an external action. There's no muscle movement. There's little chemical movement that anybody can see with the word like. So we're not going to use adverbs with these words here, among others. The most important one to remember is that we're not using adverbs with the be verb. Right? So again, they describe action verbs. They say how or in what manner something happens. They're helpful when writing descriptions. Here's the first example. The doctor listened carefully. Okay, what else do? They come after the main verb. That's where they come in the sentence, right? Usually. Most adverbs of manner are found by adding ly to the adjective. I already went over that. Some adjectives end in ly and have no adverb form. Those are important to remember. Things like lonely, friendly, and a couple others, such as lovely, ugly, lively, and there are still more. Not every ly word is an adverb. That's the important thing to remember. And you'll be able to tell if it's an adverb or an adjective by where it comes in the sentence, what comes before it, what comes after it. Finally, some adverbs have the same form as the adjective. These are irregular adverbs like hard. You don't change that. It's not hardly. Hardly is a different word. Fast, there is no fastly. Right? So these are both adjective and adverb, and then other irregular adjectives are such as good and well, or bad and worse. Right? Those are the important ones to remember. Let's look at some examples. You play the game well. See, here we have this adverb form of good, play the game. Right? It's not coming directly after the verb, and that is because we have a direct object here. You play the game well. We can put the adverb at the end of the sentence or after the object, right? As we see in this rule here. We have adverb plus main verb, so adverb before main verb plus adverb, and that's what we saw in the book there. Then we have object following that an adverb, or we might have adverb and then main verb and then object. Here are a couple examples. Fatima sings well. Here's our main verb, sings. We got our subject, our verb, and here's our adverb describing how she sings. Bayan reads fast. Here's our subject. Bayan reads, our main verb, and fast. Right? These are our two irregular adverbs that are very important to remember. Right? We're describing how she reads. She reads quickly. She reads fast. Here we have the bus arrived late today. Late is also an adverb. Late is an adverb. So the bus arrived. How did it arrive? It arrived late. Okay, going over here, we can see these are not adverbs because they come after be verbs, right? He is friendly. My nephew is silly. These are not adverbs because adverbs don't come after be verbs. We will not use adverbs to describe be verbs. Right, if we want to use something like silly to describe somebody in a way other than this, or to describe a noun, describe a verb, then we're going to say, he speaks in a lovely way, or in a silly way. right? Or she dresses in in an ugly way. Ugly manner, we could say. Manner or way. This is the important thing to remember. If we want to describe the verb with one of these ly adjectives, then we need to say in a, or an adverb, manner or way. So we'll have a subject, and then a verb, and then in a, or an adverb, adverb, manner, or way. Okay? So he is friendly, he acts in a friendly way. Not exactly as easy as he is friendly. My cousin is lonely. She's such a lovely girl. She treats people in a lovely manner. This is a lively place. It shows things in a lively way. Not exactly the best thing to say there. But my point being that in a or in an adverb, manner, or way, if you want to describe the verb using one of these ly adjectives. Okay, let's look more at the adverbs themselves. I ran quickly. Here we have it following directly after the active verb. And then here we have I ran to school. This is where he ran or where she ran. I ran to school. This is like our object. And then because it's a short object, right, we can have the adverb following that object. Here we have the doctor listened to the patient carefully. We could also say the doctor carefully listened to the patient. Sometimes when we have a very long object clause, we're not going to put the adverb at the end of the object. But this one is not so long that we can't put it there. Right? Here's a good example of where we would put, or a case where we would put the adverb in front of the active verb. He gently put the cup of coffee on the table. Put needs a direct object in this sentence, right? What did he put? Where did he put it? He put the cup of coffee on the table, right? We could say he put the cup of coffee on the table gently, but this is kind of a long object clause. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. It's starting to get a little bit too long to put the adverb at the end of the sentence, so we can put it right there in front of the verb, which takes the direct object. So rules to remember. Differentiating between adjectives and adverbs will be important. Right? Adjectives come after be verbs or before nouns. Right? Examples are my car is red. I have a red car. Right? So here are the two places that we see adjectives. After a be verb and before a noun, especially with an article. Article, adjective, noun. We would never put an adverb between an article and a noun. We would never put an adverb after a be verb. That's a never. There's no exception. No exception that we have to talk about. Right? So be verb and then adjective. Or article, adjective, noun. Never article, adverb, noun. Right? We're not going to describe a state of verb including be with an adjective, unless we do it this way, right? In an adverb, manner, or way. And that's not so important because we can just use those ly adjectives or use other adjectives to describe the noun itself, right? Not really important that you remember this part. Okay? And so let's look at some of the examples down here. Huda became slowly weaker over the months of her illness. Here we have became. Became usually functions as a be verb, but in this case we could replace it with transform. Huda transforms or transformed slowly weaker over the months of her illness. Here we have kind of a long object clause, right? So this is a case where we would not want to put it put the adverb any other place. It comes directly after the verb, after the main verb, and that's going to be the majority, 99% or 98% of the cases we'll see. If you have an aspirin, your headache will go away quick. This is just a matter of changing it to quickly. Please be blank. Are we going to use an adverb or an adjective after a be verb? Right? I think we're going to use an adjective, of course, because we don't describe our be verbs with adverbs. So please be careful. My doctor is so friendly and blank. Friendly is an adjective. Then we have this and conjunction here. So they're going to have another adjective. He's friendly and warm, another adjective. Right? And plus our only verb here is. Noor's sister was happy. Right? So we come after a be verb, we must be using an adjective. The nurse washed my cut. Here's our active verb, right? So we're probably going to use gently, right? She washed my cut gently. She gently washed my cut. The baby came in the middle of a snowy night. We drove very blank. After very, we're going to have what here? You could be very careful, but here we have an active verb, right? So we drove. We want to describe how this person drove. We drove very carefully. His cut was blank. We have a be verb, not an active verb. Don't be confused with cut. Cut is also a verb, but we would never have a present simple verb or a base verb followed by a past tense be verb. So this must be a noun, and you can also tell that by looking at the word before it. His, that's a possessive adjective. So we have his cut, this is a noun. Was, that's our verb for the sentence. So it must be painful, adjective. Right? Going on to some of these examples. How do you walk when you have a sprained ankle? We could answer this in many different ways. I walk carefully. I walk gently. I walk quickly. That wouldn't really make sense though. I walk slowly. That would make more sense because we have a hurt, sprained ankle. Right? Simple sentences will have the adverb directly following the active verb. Right, so subject, verb, and then adverb. I walk slowly. How do you want your doctor to talk to you? I want my doctor to talk to me patiently. I want my doctor to talk to me carefully. It wouldn't make sense to say I want my doctor to talk to me badly or painfully. That wouldn't make sense. So you have to choose the correct adverb that makes sense in the sentence. How do you take off a bandage? Well, there's some different opinion on this. So some people would say, I take off a bandage gently. They want to go slow. I take off a bandage easily. Right? It means it's not difficult, or easily could also mean gently. It's very similar words sometimes. I take off my bandage quickly. This is what other people will say. It's better to take it off fast than it is to take it off slowly. Right? So that's a matter of opinion. But things like well, I take my bandage off well, that's not going to make much sense there. I take my bandage off badly, also doesn't make much sense. Again, quick review. Add ly to the adjective to come up with the adverb in most cases. The adverb comes after the verb in most cases. Sometimes we can put the adverb after the object clause. Sometimes we're going to put the adverb in front of the in front of the active verb because the object is kind of long, right? Knowing the difference between adjectives and adverbs is important, but that's easy because we know that adverbs don't describe be verbs and they don't come before nouns, after an article, this type of thing. Follow your rules for adjectives and you'll know what's not an adjective, so you'll be able to understand what is an adverb if you come up across one of those ly adjectives. Right? So again, Fatima is a good singer. Right? This is an adjective. Fatima sings well. That's our adverb. Bayan's a fast runner, fast reader. Bayan reads fast. Okay, so we can use those same words to say basically the same thing, but one is an adverb, one is an adjective. The bus was late. The bus arrived late. This is an active verb. This is a stative verb or a be verb. Okay? Should be easy enough to remember.